After packing, I took opportunity of the time I had left to go round the pack one more time, and to tell the few pack members I considered as friends and family goodbye. Now that I was leaving, I will surely miss my training with the warriors and brothers as well as my mother's. I wish I could stay a bit longer before going to my mate's pack, but even I know that even in my dreams, it will be impossible because my mate wouldn't agree and will throw a tantrum or resort to other means no matter how low to get me to go with him, which wouldn't really be necessary, and to avoid all that, I just have to go with him peacefully. But if he thinks he's got himself a fragile docile mate, then he's got another thing come. I may not talk much, but my silence and temper does show a lot. I had just finished collecting my personal weapons, which consisted of a silver sword, a bow, and a couple dozens of arrows, and my box of daggers from the weapons room when I felt someone pushing against the barrier around my mind link. Sighing softly, I let it down only to hear my mother calling for me. "What is it, Mum?" I asked. "It's time, honey." She said solemnly. "Okay, I'm coming," I said before closing the mind link. Taking a last look around the room, I lifted the sack that now contained my weapons and walked out of the room. I walked into the main entrance into my home only to find my packed suitcases near the door and my family chatting animatedly with creepy Beta, whilst Alpha River stood near the window staring off in a distance with a thoughtful look on his face. Clearing my throat rather loudly, I made my presence known. My mother approached me first, and after wrapping her arms around me, she opened our mind link to speak to me. "I love you, honey. Take care when you go, and know that you can call me anytime and I will answer." "I love you too, Mom." "We love you too, baby," says my brothers barged in. "I love you more, idiots." When my mom pulled back, my brothers came in for a hug too, trying to squeeze the life out of me, but they didn't succeed for long, because they were swiftly pulled back by Mr. Possessive Alpha, and I was cuddled into a warm tingling chest that sent delicious shivers down my spine. I burrowed further into his chest, trying to get more of that warm tingling sensation and completely forgetting that we had an audience. I could feel the mate bond blooming and strengthening with just this cuddle. It wrapped itself around me like a warm blanket, and I'm sure my mate was feeling it too, because Alpha River tightened his hand wrapped around me and buried his face into my neck, breathing in my scent whilst he kept trying to push me much further into his arms, but was stopped by the sack of weapons I still in between us and my arms. He pulled back in confusion to check what was hindering me from getting closer to him. With one arm around me, he tugged my sack of weapons with his other hand. "What is this?" he asked softly. "My weapons," I whispered back softly, not wanting to break the moment. "Weapons? You train?" he asked in yes, I said with pride. He was about to say something when my mother cleared her throat rather loudly, reminding us that we had an audience, to which I blushed furiously into Alpha River's chest. To prevent further embarrassment, I put on a blank mask on my face before turning to face my family and the creepy Beta, who was smiling rather smugly whilst wiggling his eyebrows at me. Rolling my eyes at him, I threw my sack of weapons at him, to which he caught with a grunt. "What the hell is in the sack? Stones or what? Lazy bastard." "They're human heads," I said sarcastically before turning around to leave the room with Alpha River's hands still wrapped tightly around my waist. We stepped out of the house and headed straight for the car he came in. Opening the front door for me, he helped me settle in my seat, and after leaning over to clip my seatbelt in place, and he dropped a soft kiss on my forehead. Rounding the car to the driver's side, he settled in his seat, and after buckling up, he started the car. As soon as my family and the rest of pack had come out in the open and I had said my final goodbyes, Alpha River peeled out of our compound with the rest of his entourage following behind. The ride to his pack was a rather comfortable one, though we were both silent. I must have dozed off because I was shaken awake only to realize we were at his pack's border. I smiled softly, knowing how he knew me within a short span of time. I didn't want to enter his pack for the first time sleeping. He shook his head softly with a small smile tugging at the corners of his lips as if he knew exactly what was going on in my mind. Rolling my eyes at him, I quickly fixed myself, and after checking the side mirror and making sure I was all right, I gave him a curt nod to signify that he could go on. We drove into his pack grounds, and I could already see people gathered there waiting, and I got my answer when I saw their creepy Beta standing with the entourage that came to me, pack smiling smugly in my direction. I swear one of these days I am going to beat him into submission. I may be a female, but I still have alpha blood flowing through my veins. And even if he chose to disregard that, I was going to be his Luna, for crying out loud. He should show some respect, but no. In the short time that he's known me, he has already made a habit of smiling smugly at me and teasing me any chance he got with his actions and expressions. I wonder what sort of things he would utter once he opens that mouth of his. Ignoring him, I waited till Alpha River parked the car and killed the engine before pulling a blank mask onto my face. I realized now that we were on his pack ground that I could smell his scent, and it was soothing and distracting. He smelled of sandalwood and mint with a dash of ocean breeze. My wolf was purring inside, wanting to be let out to get a better whiff of our mate's alluring smell. Taking a deep breath, I opened my door and stepped out only to be met with Alpha River's disapproving gaze. I smirked at him before schooling my face behind my oh-so-precious loving blank mask. With a firm hand on my waist, he propelled me forward, towards where his pack members were gathered. I kept my head and spine straight with my eyes straight forward as we walked towards the entrance of the pack house. It was amusing how some females like underestimating other females and think they are better than them. In my opinion, let the men do it and put them to shame by proving them wrong, but when you are a woman and you do that, you just disgust me. Just like now when I am walking towards the pack house and some bitches together with some assholes who just can't keep their mouths shut and their ugly disturbing thoughts to themselves. It was amusing just listening to them whisper, forgetting we have super sensitive ears and I can hear them. "She looks beautiful," a timid voice said. "Look at that bitch. She thinks she's better than us," a whiny irritating voice said. "Yes, Belle. You are right, just look at her," another whiny irritating voice agreed with her. "You girls just shut up. You're just jealous she's Luna and you are not. I guess your so-called oracle lied to you." Yet again a rather warm voice said before bursting into laughter. "Damn. Look at that body, man. She's not even naked and I'm already getting hard," a male cocky voice said. "Nah, I don't need to look at that body, man. I'm comfortable just looking at her hips and ass. I would so tap that any day, anytime and anywhere." Another male cocky voice replied. "Stupid bastards don't know when someone is taken and when they are not. You see a woman on your alpha's arms and you start ogling at her." A timid male voice murmured so lowly that if you didn't strain your ears, you wouldn't hear. "Wow. Look at that lady, she's so beautiful. Mama, I want to mate like her when I grow up," a little boy said to his mother in an overexcited voice. I was brought out of my eavesdropping when a warm body bounded into me. I knew it was a female because of the large mop of hair on top of her head and wrapped her arms around me. I awkwardly pat her back before moving away and taking a cautious step back. Clearing my throat softly, I turned to look at Alpha River, who smiled softly at me, before mouthing sorry, to which I nodded curtly before turning my attention back to the grown woman who was smiling rather warmly at me. It was so infectious that I couldn't resist. So I let a small smile slip onto my face before replying, "Hi, ma'am." "Hey, you. No need for formalities. Just call me Felicia. I am this grumpy man's mother. And trust me, he didn't take after me. It's all on his father. Well, come on in and I warmly welcome you to this pack." "Thanks, ma'am. Sorry, Felicia, don't worry, dear." "So what should I call you?" "Chaos. My name is Chaos. Ooh, Celeste's daughter. That woman is a hard nut to crack. I knew your father too. I am sorry for your loss, honey. It must have been hard, right?" Turning to look at Alpha River, who had a grimace and apologetic look on his face, I shook my head before clearing the small smile on my face. I turned back to Felicia and I couldn't help the hard edge that came with my words. My father really is a touchy subject. No, it wasn't because my father isn't dead. He may be in this world, but from where I come from, he isn't, Felicia. It was nice to meet you, but if you would excuse me, I would like to have a word in private with Alpha River, I said before walking round her and into the house. I followed Alpha River's scent and it sent me straight to a rather warm room on the last floor. Letting my mask fall, I sat on the bed and allowed the tears I was holding back to fall. My father has always been a touchy subject for me. Though I see him from time to time, it doesn't make up for the time I missed with him during my childhood. I understand why he had to leave, but it just hurts so much whenever he's brought up. No one understands the pain I feel except my family and my father himself. I just wish I had a longer time with him. I was still crying, letting my heart bleed the only way I knew, when I felt a pair of warm arms wrap around me. By the tingling sensations I felt, I knew it was my mate. Burying my face further into his chest, I let it all loose. I wept like I had never before, and he just sat there and comforted me without any questions, for which I was grateful for.